In 2009, a woman in Texas was sentenced to life in prison for a murder that no one could prove ever happened. No weapon. No witnesses. No body. Yet somehow, the jury still said guilty. Her name was Claire Henson, a quiet nurse from the small town of Brookhaven, Texas. She'd lived an ordinary life until one night, everything changed. It began with a missing person. Michael Lane, Claire's boyfriend, disappeared without a trace. His truck was found abandoned near a rest stop, engine still warm, wallet and phone left behind. Police said it looked like he'd been taken. But when they searched for signs of struggle, nothing. No fingerprints. No blood. No tire tracks leading away. It was as if he'd just vanished. Within days, suspicion turned to Claire. Detectives said she wasn't acting right. She didn't cry in interviews. She didn't beg for help. She just stared, quiet and numb. To investigators, that wasn't grief, it was guilt. Then came the rumors. Neighbors whispered about arguments, about jealousy, about Claire wanting out of the relationship. But what really sealed her fate was an anonymous tip. A week after Michael's disappearance, a call came in from a blocked number. The voice on the line claimed to have heard Claire confess to killing him. They said she dumped his body near the river behind her house. Police rushed to search the property. Dogs. Drones. Divers. They found nothing. Still, prosecutors decided they had enough. Motive? Check. Opportunity? Check. Suspicious behavior? Absolutely. To them, that was enough to call it murder. At trial, the case fell apart in slow motion. The state admitted no physical evidence tied Claire to a crime. The defense argued there was no proof Michael was even dead. But the jury couldn't ignore what the prosecutor called the power of common sense. He pointed at Claire and said, "If she didn't do it, where is he?" It took them just 4 hours to convict her. Claire never confessed. She never changed her story. She always said the same thing. "I didn't kill him. He left." But here's where things get strange. 2 years after her conviction, something happened that turned the whole case upside down. A man in Arizona, nearly 800 miles away, was arrested for shoplifting. When police ran his fingerprints, the database pinged a match. Michael Lane. Alive. Except, it wasn't that simple. The man had the same fingerprints, same scars, even a tattoo on his arm that said M+C forever. But when questioned, he insisted his name was David Mercer and that he'd never heard of Claire Henson. He had a new life, a new identity, a family, and no memory of Texas. The discovery shook everything. Reporters called it a miracle. Prosecutors called it impossible. The court ordered new DNA tests, twice. Both came back inconclusive. So was it him? Or someone made to look like him? Meanwhile, Claire sat in a prison cell, watching the news about a man who might be the boyfriend she was convicted of killing. She said nothing publicly, but one of her letters to her sister read, "They're going to regret digging him up." That sentence caught investigators' attention. Because just days later, a skeleton was found near that same riverbed behind her house, buried deep in a spot that had been searched before. The remains were male. Estimated time of death, 2009. And the DNA matched Michael Lane. So who was the man in Arizona? The FBI took over. The fingerprints. The DNA inconsistencies. The sudden discovery of a body years after multiple searches, all of it pointed to one terrifying possibility. Someone had planted the evidence. But who? The anonymous tip that started it all? Disconnected number. The files containing the first DNA results. Deleted from the lab system. The officer who handled the evidence. Retired and untraceable. Something bigger was hiding behind this case. By 2016, new theories emerged online. Some believed Michael had been part of a criminal ring and faked his death. Others thought law enforcement covered up something darker. Then a former detective, speaking off record, claimed he'd been ordered to wrap the case fast. He said, "Someone up top didn't want people looking too close." But before he could testify, he vanished. No note. No trace. Sound familiar? And then, another twist. In 2018, a private investigator obtained a video from a gas station security camera near the Arizona border. The footage showed a man who looked exactly like Michael Lane, alive, nervous, looking over his shoulder, holding a passport. The date on the video? 1 week before the skeleton was discovered in Texas. So what really happened to Michael Lane? Was he killed and replaced by someone pretending to be him? Did he fake his death and someone else die in his place? Or was there never a Michael Lane to begin with? Every expert who studied the case says the same thing. Something doesn't add up. But the scariest part? In 2022, Claire's prison cell was found empty. Her bed untouched. Her clothes still folded neatly. No one knows how she escaped. No one has seen her since. And the only thing left behind was a note taped to the wall. It read, "He's not who you think he is." 7 words that sent the case spiraling into madness again. When guards discovered Claire Henson's empty cell in 2022, it was as if she had evaporated into thin air. No alarms. No signs of a break. And somehow, no footage from the cameras that were supposed to record every second. At first, authorities assumed she had help escaping. But when investigators reviewed visitor logs, no one had visited her in months. Her sister, Amy, was the only family she had left. She swore Claire had been terrified in her last letter. She said someone was coming for her, Amy told reporters. She said they wanted to make sure the truth stayed buried. The strange part? Claire had written that same line before, back in 2009, just weeks before her arrest. Coincidence? Or was this something deeper? Within days of her disappearance, rumors exploded online. TikTok sleuths posted theories by the hour. Some said Claire was framed by a secret organization. Others believed she'd been part of one. But then, something chilling surfaced, surveillance footage from a truck stop in New Mexico. A woman matching Claire's description walked in alone at 2:17 a.m. She looked thinner, paler, her hair darker. She bought coffee and a map, then walked back outside. When cameras panned to the parking lot, she wasn't there anymore. No car. No direction. She'd vanished between frames. FBI agent Daniel Cross, who'd been reassigned to the case, didn't believe in coincidences. He reopened Claire's entire file and started from scratch. The more he dug, the stranger it got. Lab records missing. Witness statements rewritten. And one photo, dated months before Michael's disappearance, showed a man with his face scratched out. Written underneath, in Claire's handwriting, were the words, "He's wearing Michael's smile." Agent Cross tracked down the Arizona man, David Mercer, the one with Michael's fingerprints. Except now, Mercer was gone too. His house abandoned. Mail piling up. Family moved away. Inside the home, investigators found something odd. A wall covered in photographs of Claire. Hundreds of them. Each one cut, rearranged, or edited, some with her eyes blacked out, others with the words she knows written over her face. And in the center of the collage, one image stood out. A picture of Michael and Claire together. Only someone had carefully cut Michael's face out and replaced it with Mercer's. Forensic teams ran new analyses. The faces, the photos, even the old DNA reports. And then came the discovery that blew the case wide open. The fingerprints that matched both Michael Lane and David Mercer. They weren't identical by nature, they'd been surgically duplicated. A rare black market procedure. Illegal. Almost impossible to trace. So what did that mean? That the man found in Arizona wasn't Michael, but someone made to look like him. The question was why? Agent Cross followed the trail to a name that kept showing up in old police notes, Dr. Henry Lowell, a biomedical researcher who specialized in identity reconstruction for witness protection cases. He disappeared in 2010, just after Claire's conviction. When agents raided his abandoned clinic in Dallas, they found preserved tissue samples labeled ML09. Michael Lane. And a file marked Project Mirrorman. Inside, handwritten notes read, "Successful replication achieved. Subject stable. Memory programming incomplete." That phrase, memory programming incomplete, changed everything. Because it meant the man in Arizona wasn't a twin, or a doppelganger. He was a copy. A living replica with fragments of Michael's memories, but no idea who he truly was. And if Claire had discovered that truth back then, it could explain why Michael disappeared. Maybe she didn't kill him. Maybe she found out he was never real to begin with. Agent Cross released this theory to the press cautiously, but the backlash was instant. Cloning? Replication? That's science fiction, critics said. But then, 3 more missing person cases from 2008 to 2010 showed similar anomalies. DNA mismatches. Fingerprints that shouldn't exist twice. Victims who had returned years later with scrambled memories. And at the center of all 3 cases? Dr. Henry Lowell. By summer 2023, the search for Claire intensified. Posters. Amber alerts. Even bounty hunters joined the chase. Then, one night, a strange message appeared on a private true crime forum. The username, "Not Dead Yet." The message: "Stop looking for Claire. She's looking for him." An IP trace led to a rural address just outside Lubbock, Texas, Dr. Lowell's former property. When agents arrived, they expected to find an abandoned farmhouse. Instead, they found a fully operational lab. Monitors flickering. Medical files scattered. And on one of the screens, a paused video feed showing Claire herself. She was standing in a dimly lit room, holding a syringe. Behind her, strapped to a chair, was Michael Lane. The footage was timestamped only 36 hours earlier. Agent Cross immediately issued a nationwide alert. But when they reached the site from the video, the room was empty. What they did find, though, was worse. On the floor, a torn prison uniform, a blood-stained map of Texas, and another note, handwritten, shaky, desperate. It read, "They made him twice. One of them's still out there." The they referred to in the note pointed to an organization hidden beneath multiple shell companies tied to private defense contracts. The name kept appearing, Gemini Initiative. Officially, it was a biomedical defense project launched in 2007 to develop human cloning for emergency medical use. Unofficially, it had been shut down after unethical experimentation. And Dr. Lowell? He was one of its founding members. That meant Michael Lane wasn't just a victim. He was a prototype. And Claire had spent over a decade in prison for a murder that may have been designed to erase evidence of the experiment itself. But here's where it gets darker. In late 2024, an anonymous USB drive was mailed to a Dallas newsroom. No return address. No fingerprints. Inside was a single file, redemption_final.mp4. The video opened with static, then slowly came into focus. Claire. Her voice was shaking, eyes red, face pale. She was in a concrete room, whispering into the camera. "If you're seeing this, I didn't escape. I was released. They needed me to finish what he started. Michael isn't gone. Not really. He's been remade again, and this time, they perfected him." Behind her, faintly, a man's silhouette moved in the shadows. He stepped closer. And though the footage was blurry, his face was unmistakable. It was Agent Daniel Cross. Within 48 hours of that video's release, Cross disappeared. His office was cleared. His car abandoned. The FBI scrubbed all digital references to the Gemini Initiative. And when reporters pressed for answers, the agency issued a single statement. No such program exists. But online, people noticed something disturbing. In his last public interview before vanishing, Cross's reflection in the glass behind him didn't move in sync. It smiled when he didn't. Weeks later, in a small diner in Nevada, a waitress reported serving coffee to a woman who looked exactly like Claire, same eyes, same scar on her wrist. The woman said nothing the whole time. But when she left, she slipped a folded napkin under the cup. Written on it, in smeared blue ink, were 4 chilling words. "You're next, Agent Cross." To this day, no one knows who, or what, Michael Lane really was. Dr. Lowell's files remain missing. Claire's location is still unknown. And the Gemini Initiative? Buried under layers of government silence. Some say Claire was a murderer. Others believe she was humanity's first whistleblower against something far bigger. But one thing is certain. The story isn't over. Last month, a new report surfaced from Mexico City. Authorities found a woman unconscious near a border hospital. She claimed her name was Claire Henson. But when doctors ran her fingerprints, they matched 2 different people. And on her arm, carved faintly into the skin, were the words, "Project Mirrorman, Phase 2. The woman found near the border hospital wasn't supposed to exist. Fingerprint scans matched 2 identities, Claire Henson, the convicted murderer who vanished from prison, and Dr. Henry Lowell, the scientist who created Project Mirrorman. It didn't make sense. How could one body belong to both? And yet, the biometric data didn't lie. This discovery set off alarms at every level of law enforcement. The FBI, Interpol, and private defense agencies scrambled to contain the news before it leaked. But by then, it was too late. A photo of the woman's arm, with the words Project Mirrorman, Phase 2 carved into it, was already circulating online. The world wanted answers. When she regained consciousness, doctors asked her name. She whispered, "I don't know which one I'm supposed to be." Her voice trembled, her eyes darted around the room like she was watching invisible figures. Within hours, she vanished again. Security footage caught her walking barefoot down a hallway, escorted by a man in a gray suit. No ID, no badge. Just one thing visible on his wrist, a tattoo of the Gemini symbol. Meanwhile, the internet exploded with theories. Had the government been cloning people for decades? Was Claire even human? Was Michael Lane alive, or was he just another experiment? And then, a new video surfaced. This one was even more disturbing. It began with static, then cut to a flickering lab. Dozens of oxygen tanks. Surgical tables. Cryogenic pods glowing faint blue. A voice, calm, familiar, spoke behind the camera. Phase 2 is complete. Phase 3 begins when the subjects find each other. The camera panned across the room, revealing multiple bodies sealed inside the pods. Each one identical. Each one wearing the same face. Claire's. Investigators traced the video's metadata to an off-grid facility in Sonora, Mexico, a former biotech testing site run by a shell company linked to the Gemini Initiative. When authorities raided the compound, it looked abandoned at first. Dust. Empty desks. Scattered papers. But downstairs, they discovered what they thought was a morgue. Only, the bodies weren't dead. They were breathing, slowly, shallowly, hooked to 4 lines and machines labeled cognitive reintegration. And on one of the computer screens, frozen mid-frame, was the face of Agent Daniel Cross. He was wearing a lab coat. And behind him stood another man who looked exactly like him. Agent Cross's former partner, Special Agent Lila Torres, was brought in to analyze the footage. "This isn't real," she said at first. But the timestamp proved otherwise. It had been recorded 3 weeks after Cross disappeared. So if that was him in the video, what happened to the one who vanished? Torres dug deeper into the recovered files. Hidden inside a secured folder was a single audio clip titled Prototype_C. It was Claire's voice. They said they could erase pain by rewriting memory. But when you erase pain, you erase truth. That's what they did to Michael. That's what they did to me. Her voice cracked. And now they're trying again, with him. The last few words trailed off in static. But underneath the distortion, a faint second voice whispered, "You shouldn't have come back." 2 days later, Agent Torres received an unmarked package at her hotel. Inside, an old cassette tape, a silver flash drive, and a single Polaroid photo. The photo showed Claire standing in front of a mirror, half her face bandaged. Behind the reflection, 2 Michaels, both smiling. Written on the bottom corner in shaky handwriting were the words, "One of them remembers." When Torres played the cassette, the voice on it made her blood run cold. It was Daniel Cross. "If you're hearing this, I'm not the one you think I am. They replaced me months ago. The man you're working with, he's part of it. Trust no one from the Bureau. They've all been touched by Gemini." He paused. "Find the real Claire. She knows where the core file is. Without it, they can't finish Phase 3. Then, gunfire. Screams. The tape cut out. Torres immediately checked her security cameras. They were offline. Someone was outside her door. The peephole showed a man in a gray suit with a Gemini tattoo. She ran to the fire escape, only to find a small envelope taped to the window. Inside, a memory card. And a handwritten message. "Don't make the same mistake Claire did." The footage on the card was from an underground facility. Dozens of monitors displayed the same looping video, Agent Torres herself, sleeping in her hotel room. And in the corner of one screen, a system logline read, "Subject T04, integration 97% complete." She realized what it meant. They weren't just cloning people anymore. They were merging them. Taking real memories, real consciousness, and rewriting them into controlled replicas. Every return, every resurrection, every person found after disappearance could have been a rebuilt version, programmed for Gemini's use. 3 days later, a major leak hit the internet. Thousands of confidential files from Project Gemini were released anonymously under the codename EchoFall. The documents detailed years of covert human replication experiments, test subjects who'd been declared missing, presumed dead, and later found under new identities. Among the list were names familiar to anyone following the case. Michael Lane, David Mercer, Dr. Henry Lowell, Claire Henson, Agent Daniel Cross, Lila Torres, all labeled as phase subjects. Every one of them had been part of Gemini's expansion program, some as test cases, others as field prototypes. And the most chilling entry? Project Mirrorman, Phase 3 objective, integrate subject consciousness into governance and enforcement sectors for optimal behavioral alignment. They weren't creating clones to replace victims. They were creating them to replace leaders. Governments denied the leak's authenticity, calling it a hoax. But something strange followed. Officials known for opposing certain defense bills suddenly reversed their positions overnight. News anchors began repeating the same phrasing across different networks. And every search term related to Project Gemini started vanishing from the internet. One by one. Meanwhile, in a hidden lab outside Mexico City, the woman from the hospital, the one with Claire and Dr. Lowell's fingerprints, recorded a final message. Her name, she said, was Clara Lowell. They thought combining us would fix the flaws. It didn't. It just made me remember everything. She held up a photo, Claire and Michael, smiling in 2008. He wasn't supposed to die. He was supposed to wake up. But they rushed the process. His mind fractured. They said I killed him, but all I did was unplug the copy. Tears rolled down her face. They've already started replacing others. People you trust. People who lead you. When truth becomes programmable, what's left of being human? Suddenly, alarms blared in the background. Voices shouted. Clara looked directly at the camera. If you see another me, don't believe her. I'm the mistake they couldn't erase. The screen went black. Authorities raided the facility 12 hours later. No bodies. No survivors. Only the same phrase scrawled across a wall in red ink. Project Merriman, completed. Weeks later, Agent Torres went missing. Her final voicemail to her sister was short but haunting. I think I've seen him. Michael. He's alive. But his eyes, they weren't his. After that, silence. A year passed. Then one night, a small independent YouTube channel posted a shaky video. The host claimed she'd found a hard drive labeled Gemini Archives. The footage showed hundreds of human faces morphing into one another. Claire. Daniel. Lila. Michael. Even politicians and CEOs. Each transition smoother than the last, until the faces became unrecognizable, one blended consciousness, one shared identity. The final frame froze on a text file. Humanity 2.0, System Online. Viewers flooded the comments. Some called it fake. Others swore the faces looked familiar. One user, at Not Dead Yet, simply wrote, "You're all already part of it." Within an hour, the video vanished. The channel was deleted. And every mirror upload was scrubbed offline within minutes. No one claimed responsibility. But a few days later, a billboard appeared in downtown Dallas. No logo. No brand. Just 4 words. Remember who you were. In a world where truth can be edited and memory can be rewritten, the greatest danger isn't losing your life, it's losing the meaning of who you are. When power manipulates identity, reality itself becomes a weapon. And if we stop questioning what's real, if we surrender our memories, our doubts, our individuality, then we become the next version of someone else's design. So always question the story you're told. Because sometimes, the most dangerous lie is the one that looks like the truth.